I was just a tired waitress working a late shift when a billionaire CEO walked into the diner. He signed a document while making a call, and as I cleared the table, my eyes caught the signature. My hands trembled. Sir, this signature, it belongs to my father, I whispered. He went still, the glass slipping from his hand as his eyes widened in disbelief. I was scrubbing the same worn-out tables at Murphy's Diner, the kind of place where the air smells of grease and coffee, and the red vinyl booths creak with every shift of weight. It was a Tuesday, unremarkable in its monotony, the kind of day that blends into 1,000 others when you're a 24-year-old waitress scraping by to pay for community college. My hands moved in circles, wiping away ketchup stains and coffee rings, my mind drifting to the business administration textbook waiting in my bag. I'd been at it since 6 a.m., serving truckers and retirees who lingered over their eggs, their chatter as predictable as the checkered floor. Millbrook, New York wasn't a place where things happened, until that black sedan rolled into the gravel lot, its sleek body gleaming like it didn't belong in a town like ours. I froze mid-wipe, staring through the diner's smudged window. The car was a Bentley, maybe, or something equally absurd for a place like this. My heart gave a little thud, not from the car, but from the man who stepped out. Tall, early 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a suit that screamed money. He carried himself like he owned the world, his steps deliberate, his eyes scanning the lot before landing on the diner's flickering neon sign. I shook my head, muttering to myself about rich folks slumming it, and went back to my tables. Working at Murphy's wasn't glamorous, but it kept the lights on in the tiny apartment I shared with my mom, Linda, and covered my tuition. Barely. My mom raised me alone, a seamstress stitching her life together at the local dry cleaner. She told me my father died in a car accident before I was born, a story I never questioned until I was 7 and found a photograph hidden in one of her old books. It showed 2 teenagers by a lake, their arms around each other, their smiles so bright they seemed to burn through the faded Polaroid. On the back, in bold, flowing script, was written, "Linda, you are my whole world. I will love you forever, Garrett." That signature, Garrett's signature, became my obsession. I'd trace its curves with my finger, hidden in my jewelry box, wondering about the man who'd loved my mom so fiercely. When I asked her about it, her face crumpled, and I never brought it up again. But that photograph was my tether to a father I'd never known, a ghost I carried through my childhood. That Tuesday, Pete, my manager, shuffled over as I refilled the coffee station. "Kate, I need you on the back booth today," he said, scratching his stubble. "Some big-shot businessman's coming in at 10, wants privacy, paid extra for it." I raised an eyebrow. Millbrook wasn't exactly Wall Street. "What kind of businessman?" I asked. Pete shrugged. "Money's money, keep his coffee hot and his table clear." I nodded, curiosity prickling. At exactly 10 a.m., the sedan's driver, the man in the suit, strode in. Up close, he was even more imposing, his tailored jacket catching the diner's dim light. His eyes, kind but sharp, scanned the room before settling on the corner booth. I grabbed a menu and a coffee pot, plastering on my customer service smile. "Good morning," I said, approaching his table. "I'm Kate, your server. Coffee?" He nodded, his voice deep and polished. "Please, and thank you for accommodating my request." "I know this isn't the Four Seasons." I poured, catching a faint whiff of his cologne, something expensive like cedar and leather. "Murphy's has its charm," I said, setting the pot down. "Expecting someone?" He glanced up, his eyes crinkling slightly. "My attorney, sensitive business matters." I left him with the menu, but something about him nagged at me, his profile, the tilt of his head. It was like seeing a face you know in a dream but can't place. 20 minutes later, his attorney arrived, a wiry man with a briefcase and a nervous energy. They dove into a hushed conversation about contracts and acquisitions, their voices low, their papers spread across the table. I kept their cups full, gliding in and out like a ghost, trying not to eavesdrop. But I couldn't shake that feeling, that inexplicable pull toward the man in the suit. It was during one of my refills that it happened. He was signing a document with a gold pen, his hand moving with practiced ease. From where I stood, I saw it, the bold G, the flowing letters that followed. My breath caught. The coffee pot slipped from my hands, shattering on the floor with a crash that silenced the diner. Faces turned. I stammered apologies, my cheeks burning as I bolted to the back for a rag. Pete was on me in seconds, demanding answers, but I barely heard him. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. I had to see that signature again. I rushed back, my eyes locking onto the papers as he signed another page. There it was. Garrett. The same G, the same flourish I'd memorized from that photograph. My world tilted. Sir, I whispered, my voice trembling. That's my dad's signature. He looked up, startled. I'm sorry, what? I pointed at the paper, my hands shaking. Your signature, it's my father's. But that's impossible, he died before I was born. His face went pale, his eyes searching mine. For the first time, he really looked at me. My dark hair, my green eyes, the shape of my jaw. What's your name? He asked, his voice quiet. Kate Baker. And your mother's? Linda Baker. The gold pen slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor. The sound echoed in the now silent diner. He gripped the table, his knuckles white. Linda Baker, he repeated, his voice hollow. From Buffalo. I nodded, my throat tight. How old are you? I turned 24 last week. He closed his eyes, a shudder running through him. Oh my God, he whispered. You're her daughter. You're my daughter. The words hit me like a freight train. I grabbed a chair to steady myself, my legs threatening to give out. That's impossible, I said. My father died. My mom told me. Your mother told you I was dead? His voice cracked, pain and disbelief warring in his eyes. Kate, my name is Garrett Kane. I was 17 when I fell in love with your mother. We were going to get married after high school, but her parents didn't approve. One day she was just gone. Her family said she'd moved away, didn't want me anymore. My mind reeled. Garrett Kane. The Garrett Kane, billionaire CEO of Kane Industries. I fumbled for my phone, pulling up the photo I'd taken of that old Polaroid. Is this you? I asked, showing him the image. His eyes welled as he looked at it. That was us, by the lake, the summer before she left. I wrote that note on the back. Tears pricked my own eyes. I found it when I was 7. I've been staring at your signature my whole life, wondering about you. He reached across the table, his hand warm and steady as it closed over mine. Kate, I swear, I had no idea you existed. If I'd known your mother was pregnant, I would have torn the world apart to find you both. My chest ached with a mix of anger and longing. Why would she lie? Why tell me you were dead? His voice softened. She was 18, pregnant, scared. Her parents probably convinced her I was no good, that I'd ruin her life. She thought she was protecting you. I thought of my mom, the sadness in her eyes when she thought I wasn't watching, the way she'd never dated, never moved on. She never got over you, I said. She's been alone all these years. Garrett's jaw tightened. I never got over her either. I built an empire, but no one ever made me feel the way Linda did. We sat there, two strangers bound by a truth neither of us had expected. Are you sure, I asked finally, that you're my dad? He smiled, his eyes, my eyes, glistening. You have my eyes, Kate, I'm sure. And if you'll let me, I want to know my daughter. I want to see your mother again, to understand why she carried this secret for 24 years. My heart twisted. She'll be terrified. She'll think you hate her. He shook his head. I could never hate her. I'm hurt, devastated I missed your childhood. But I understand. She was protecting you. That evening, I sat at our kitchen table, the photograph in front of me, waiting for Mom to come home. My shift at the diner was supposed to start at 6, but I'd called in sick. A family emergency, I'd said. It wasn't a lie. When Mom walked in, her face weary from the dry cleaner, she froze at the sight of me. Kate, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I pushed the photo toward her. Mom, we need to talk about my father. Her face went white and she sank into a chair. Honey, you know he died before you were born. I met her eyes. I met him today, Mom. I met Garrett Kane. She went still, her gaze locked on the photograph. That's impossible, she whispered. I told her about the diner, the signature, the truth that had unraveled in a single moment. Tears streamed down her face. Oh God, Kate, what have I done? Why did you lie? I demanded, my voice breaking. Why tell me he was dead? Her hand shook as she spoke. I was 18, terrified. My parents said he'd ruined my life, that he was just a poor boy with no future. When I found out I was pregnant, I was already here with Aunt Marie. I was too scared, too proud to call him. But you could have told me when I was older, I said. You could have found him. She looked away, her voice desperate. How could I? How could I call after 24 years and say, by the way, you have a daughter? How could I admit I let him think I didn't love him when I never stopped loving him? I reached for her hand, my anger softening. Mom, he never stopped loving you either. He wants to see you. She shook her head, tears falling. I can't face him. You can, I said firmly. You owe it to him, to me, to yourself. You've carried this for too long. The next day, I arranged for them to meet at the diner during the quiet afternoon. I watched from behind the counter as Mom walked in, her blue dress catching the light, her face pale with fear. Garrett was already there in the same booth. When he saw her, he stood, his expression a mix of love and pain. "Linda," he said softly. "Garrett," she replied, her voice barely audible. They stood frozen, two people who'd loved each other as kids and lost each other to fear and time. "You look the same," he said. "No, I don't," she answered, a sad smile breaking through. "I'm old, tired, and I've made so many mistakes." "We both have," he said. "But we have a daughter, Linda. A beautiful, amazing daughter." They talked for hours, their voices low, their words weaving together 24 years of pain and love. I watched my mother's face soften, the weight of her secret lifting. I saw my father's eyes light up as he heard about my childhood, the daughter he'd never known. When they left, they weren't the broken people who'd walked in. They were a beginning. 6 months later, I was at Columbia University, studying business and nonprofit management. My parents were taking things slow, rediscovering each other, but their love was undeniable. Dad didn't just throw money at me, he showed up, orientation, move-in day, weekly calls. Mom quit the dry cleaner and now ran the Kane Foundation, helping kids like me get a chance. One night, in Dad's penthouse, he looked out over the city and said, "I used to think success was building an empire. Now I know it's about the people you love. You're my legacy, Kate." I thought about that often, especially when they remarried in a quiet church ceremony, 25 years after they'd first planned to. The pastor's words, "For better or worse, as long as you both shall live," felt like a promise kept across decades. Dad gave me a necklace that day, a gold pendant with the lake photo engraved. "You've been the bridge between us," he said. "I love you, Dad," I whispered, hugging him. Years later, I was back at Murphy's, not as a waitress, but as a customer. I'd graduated with honors and was launching a nonprofit for single mothers, with Dad as my biggest supporter. I pitched a partnership to Pete, my old manager, to offer job training and childcare. "Count me in," he said, grinning. As I sat in that booth, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Proud of you, kiddo." I smiled, typing back, "Thanks, Dad." Learn from the best, from Mom. I'd learned sacrifice and strength. From Dad, vision and love. That signature, that small, flowing script, had unlocked a family, a love story, a life I'd never imagined. Sometimes I wonder, what if I'd missed that day, that signature? But Dad was right. Everything happens when it's meant to. In a diner on an ordinary Tuesday, a single moment had changed everything, proving that love, no matter how long buried, always finds its way back.